Hi, friends.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the Because Marriages Work
So now you get us
podcast.
back to back.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Because Marriages Work podcast,
Yeah.
where we talk about the beauty, the work, and the witness of godly marriages.
How do you come up with that?
Run me my check. And on today's episode, we're speaking about something that I would call one of the easiest temptations to fall into in marriage. And we've titled this one, Clap Back or Come Back, What to Do When Love Hurts.
Right.
So you see, you know that feeling? Let me take you on a journey. You know that feeling when your spouses, maybe their words have hurt you, or maybe their actions or even inactions sting. And the step after that is either to mirror the pain such that they feel what you felt, or to choose the higher road. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that it's one temptation that, humanly speaking, many of us would have faced in marriage, in friendship, in most relationships.
Yeah.
Right? But the wisdom is knowing how to navigate that terrain, not falling for that temptation to want to clap back. And what does coming back from that, what does it look like? And that's what we're hoping to sort of tease through in this episode.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, it's a real issue, yeah?
Is it? I thought you had the mind of Christ. Do you face such?
Oh, I do have the mind of Christ. And I guess that is where to start the conversation from. Understanding that there is the reflex or response situation. I mean, in typical psychological terms, you'd be considered as reaction or response, right? When a person is hurt, the impulse is to react, right? And most times when you're acting via that impulse, it's likely without wisdom. So what I'm trying to convey in my reaction might be that I am in defense of myself, in defense of, how whatever has just happened, made me feel. Trying not to look small in your face, trying not to, be reduced to whatever has just occurred. Right? I mean, hurt can be a function of something somebody has said, right? And maybe what the person has said isn't something you want to be represented as. So in that moment, impulse is defending your reputation, defending, how you have just been seen or how you have just been, painted or portrayed by the other person. And so if I'm not responding with wisdom, which is that I'm just, acting based on my reflex in that moment, I'm most likely defending myself. Right? I can still defend myself, but in a more constructive way if I slow down, pause, thought about it. But that isn't often the initial response, right? Because most times, humans would default to preservation. It's just instinctive to want to preserve oneself, right? So, the situation of clapping back or coming back, or coming back to ensure that we can work this out, more amicably than how I'll deal with it if I was, reacting to it. That in itself is a road that takes a lot of maturity to walk. So, of course, you already said, I thought you were led by the Spirit of God, and I am. And I believe that there are many times when the natural thing to do would
The
be
human thing to do.
the human, rather, thank you. The human thing to do would be to just, based on my reflex or an impulse, act without wisdom. Make this other person know that I'm hot right now and have them feel some pain as well. It takes a lot in terms of either maturity, whether spiritually, intellectually, or what have you, behaviorally, emotionally, to not fall into the trap that the human instinct or the instinct that will come to you at first will drive you toward.
I know as you were speaking, one thing just sort of reflex protects the ego.
Yeah.
Or responding protects the covenant, it protects the bond. So that reflex protects the ego, but responding actually protects the bond. And I think that's why it's so important. You know, in the world of psychology, if you've not even read like 7 Habits, you would have heard the power of the pause, like where it says that between an action and a reaction, there's that space, the pause, and it's encouraged that you take the pause, that you take that pause, because reflex does not, many times your reflex will not produce the fruit of reconciliation, of reward. But what that pause allows you to do is to temper your reflex with wisdom, is to temper your reflex with the new knowledge or the superior knowledge that you now have, such that you are not just reacting, but you are now responding. And like I said, reflex oftentimes is there. Like, you know the way in biology, I'm a doctor, right? And we say like blink is to protect your eyes.
Absolutely.
So oftentimes, if we liken that to the situations where we find ourselves, reflex most times is there for self-preservation, is there to preserve the ego, but it is that response and that well thought out reaction that protects the covenant. And that's why sometimes I feel like there's wisdom in realizing that I don't have to say something instantly.
Oh yeah.
Because, you know, like it even comes down to like conflict situations where somebody wants to talk it out and hash it through instantly. Oftentimes, the weight of the emotions that you feel in that moment might color your perspective. Such that if you have time to go away from that situation, to rethink it, to think it through, you might realize that your reactions will be tempered with wisdom. It won't be the same way that you would have reacted in the heat of the moment. And that's why I feel like there's something called like the heat of the moment. Because that heat of the moment is actually a real thing. And it's actually something that can actually strongly influence the choices and the decisions that you're going to make. So I feel like remembering to make that distinction between reflex and response, I feel like is the first step on our way to clap back versus comeback. Like knowing that my reflex many times will serve self-preservation, but in choosing to respond, I would likely protect our covenant. I would likely protect our bond over reflexive or instinctive actions.
I mean, indeed, it's not like you're excusing the pain that you feel, because what I hear you say, the pause now brings you to a place where it seems like you get more insight and you're able to deal with more, possibilities or options to make a decision with. But it's not like you're excusing the pain.
Yeah, and I think, and I think it's sorry, babe. And I think it's important that we say this, because I feel that oftentimes one of the reasons that people, especially people of the faith, that they fear the perspective that Christians will bring to this conversation is because they feel that we take accountability out of the table and say that you just take the higher road. Don't name your feelings, suppress your emotions, suppress your feelings. That's not the call here. You can name your feelings, you can acknowledge your feelings without allowing them get into the driver's seat.
Right.
You can name your feelings, you can acknowledge your feelings without tending to them in such a way that they take root and become the thing that is bearing fruit in your relationship. And I feel like that's the place where many people struggle to make that distinction. Like, I feel sad, I feel upset, I feel hurt. Then I tabernacle there, and then I build a whole mansion on that feeling of feeling hurt, feeling sad, feeling upset. And I feel like there's no harm done in actually telling your spouse that what you did actually hurts me. So this is not a call to emotional suppression. Because taking the higher road actually looks like acknowledging the pain, but choosing or saying that the pain doesn't get to determine the next step.
So it's more like an indication than
a driver,
being an instructor, or being a driver. And I think that, for sure, when a person is able to even steward that place repeatedly, what happens is that you grow emotionally. Right? You mature emotionally. You get to the point where, and I mean, of course, it's two-pronged, because for some people, they can become numb to the other person, such that if you've caused me pain repeatedly and I've not been able to address or deal with it the way that I want to, I then protect myself, which then makes me numb from you and the things that you do. But there's also the place where if a person has dealt with it appropriately, repeatedly, you become more emotional, you become more emotionally mature, that you begin to master your emotions more. You are more at a level of power than at the mercy of emotions.
Yeah.
Right? And in the end, you're better for it as a person. That's a caveat now, but you're better for it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's why I started off saying you're not ignoring the pain you feel, but you're just not letting the pain be the one to teach you what to do.
Yes.
So you're doing what you do based on appropriate counsel. You're doing what you do based on direction as either instructed by, in our case, God,
the Bible,
by scripture, by, by wisdom, all of those kind of things, as against just by
the feeling,
whatever feeling was driving the action.
Yeah. And I feel like it's so important that at this point we sort of emphasize, because we have listeners who are not yet married. And when you hear the concept of like equal yoking and the fact that you should marry somebody who's on the same page with you, I think it boils down to things like this.
Absolutely.
Because a person that has the mind of Christ would not intentionally want to hurt you, will not intentionally want to put you in harm's way, will not intentionally want to continually or repeatedly take you for granted. Do you understand? So it puts us in a position where we don't need to constantly continue to make like disclaimers when these conversations come up. And I hold this with all form of empathy for people that have found themselves like in situations where one person, it feels like they're being taken advantage of, right? And I'm saying here that unfortunately, that's the reality that some people find themselves. But for the people that haven't gotten to the point of making a commitment to getting married to somebody, it's actually realizing that equal yoking is so important. Like, because you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you feel like, oh, I'm being taken advantage of. This other person is not singing from the same hymn sheet. Because this whole thing becomes beautiful. It becomes such a beautiful dance when you know that the person is doing the same for you. Like, do you get like the person on the other side? You can trust their heart. You can trust their intent. You can tell that they are never out to just take advantage of you. They're never out to just prey on your goodness, on the kindness of your heart, on the magnanimity and your submission to Christ. They're not out to prey on those parts of you, right? And that's why it's beautiful to be with somebody. And we always say this, I'm like, I just hope you and your partner, you're singing from the same hymn sheet. Because marriage it's two, it takes two to make it work. And Christians will say it takes three, right? A threefold cord is not easily broken. But you get what I mean when I say it takes two.
Right.
It's the fact that you can guarantee that this other person did not set out to hurt me. They just don't look at me and decide that I'm going to hurt you today. Because it just saves us having to put all these disclaimers that we then have to put like, oh, we're not justifying abuse. We're not saying that in abusive situations you stay there putting yourself at arm's way and all that. I think it was just important for me to say that, especially for the people who are still on the journey to making that decision of who they're going to spend the rest of their lives with. I feel like a person who's submitted to God, a person who's constantly out for your good, who looks out for your good, who wants to do good by God always. And that would include in the way they treat you, in the way they handle you. I feel like that becomes important, because that way it's easier for you to continually live a good disposition in that kind of relationship, right?
Absolutely. And you make a really solid point, because it becomes harder if one person is submitted, one person is trying to do right, and the other one doesn't share the same view and is looking more after themselves than they are after the good of the relationship or the marriage itself. The good of the marriage or the person that they are with. And of course, that at a level is counsel for people that have not made the decision. For people that have made the decision, however, there's probably more work to do there, because as you're speaking, I'm then thinking about people that would say things like, but I'm trying my best to be the best I can be, but it seems like my partner is just bent on hurting me with everything that they do. And I'm wondering how I've gotten myself to this point, because now the next thing in my mind is we might need to speak to that. On this podcast now. We might need to speak to that, because I have heard and seen, situations where a person is in that place. And maybe the question here is, what do we tell them? I'm doing everything. I'm trying my best. I'm forgiving. I have forgiven again and again and again, but it just appears like my partner is bent and hurting me.
I mean, I feel like the first thing is to realize that the things that you do in your relationship, whether it be good or like it be a relationship where you're currently facing some challenges, is first and foremost in allegiance to God and not to your partner, right? Do you get? Because I feel like sometimes where we struggle is where we think that the good we do is because the other person deserves it. The good we do to them or the good we do to one another is a reflection of the heart of the Father for that person and the heart of the Father for us in marriage as well. So first of all, like our good deeds are a product of our relationship and our connection to
And
God.
even the heart of the Father in us.
Yeah. So it's not predicated on the good behavior of the other person. So having said that, right, having laid that foundation, I feel like this is the point where unfortunately, conversations like this, their podcast, there's so much generalization.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold the nuance of your own context. We don't know what specific situation or specific context you found yourself in.
Yeah.
But I feel like one, accountability. This is where accountability comes to play. We're seeking the counsel of godly, wise people that both of you can be submitted to, that can help you sort of find your way back to God. Because first of all, it's about finding your way back to each other. It's about finding your way back to God, because it's in finding your way back to God that you would then know you have the tools to treat one another appropriately and the tools to treat one another and another rightly. And I feel like, so that's accountability, wisdom. And I think like choosing your own battles and choosing the things that you focus on, the things that you focus on magnify. And I feel like realizing and choosing the things that you focus on, because if you continue to focus on the negative, it will just carry on magnifying. There might be certain things in that relationship that you've let slide that you're not thankful for anymore. Sort of bringing those to mind and calling those back to remembrance might be something that helps as well. But I feel like primarily it is one, realizing why you do what you do. Two, getting yourself counsel, getting yourself help as much as is possible. And three, also giving that person the gift of understanding, because sometimes we diminish the fact that yes, people are responsible for their actions, but we diminish the fact that there might be certain things that fuel those behaviors, that fuel those actions. So sort of like introspecting and looking to see if there are any behaviors or any things that things that fuel those behaviors or the root cause of these things are. And I feel like that will be so important. But like we said earlier, my heart really breaks when we have to issue all these disclaimers, because I just wish that people would just treat themselves kindly and they would just deal with themselves and enjoy the beauty of marriage. But obviously, this is not in any way saying if you're finding yourself in an abusive situation or where you find that your life is at risk, you then stay and put all these practices in place and continue to endure abuse. That's not the call, right? That's not the call here. And I hope you can hear the heart behind this, that is not the call here. So there's absolutely room for accountability, and we completely recommend it, and it's something that we advocate for. But sort of first of all, realizing that why do I do what I do? I do it as an allegiance to God, not because of the good behavior in the other person, not because the other person, quote unquote, deserves it. I do it in honor to God first. And that way you continue to have fuel for the journey. You continue to have fuel for the ride. But because if it is about the outcomes and if it's about the good behavior in the other person, the moments you get disappointed time and again because they're not supplying you that good behavior yet, you will lose fuel. You will lose steam for the journey.
You see, you just gave words to why I say I have no expectations of you. Because I was going to re-echo exactly that what you said, that for me, the first fundamental is that you do what you do according to the Lord. That's the first fundamental. And I like, the way that you fleshed everything out there, of course. I think that if that is the driver, it puts you in the position where I am good because of the person I am, and like you said, doesn't mean that you sit with being taken advantage of, depending on the degree of what that looks like. But also the fact that it then becomes a responsibility to also pray that the other person, whatever it is that has fueled, or is fueling the way that they behave, whatever roots causes fuel the way that they behave, that they see. They see the gaps, they see the brokenness, they see, the fault and the flaws, quote and unquote, and are able to come to reasoning that allows them to learn or grow or take counsel, as the case may be. Because I know that many people struggle in that place where someone is hurting me. I feel like I need to hurt in return. And that's only because it doesn't seem like they know that they're hurting me. And so it feels like if they get a taste of their own medicine, maybe they will come to their senses. But at the end of the day, that never solves anything, because what happens is that when a person reacts and retaliates, what happens is that you only worsen most times the situation rather than repair it. You create a larger gulf than you create amendment. And so not it's like the coming back is like me setting up a bridge for us to repair than the clap back that further increases the gulf.
Yeah, and I like what you say about the clap back widening the gulf as opposed to the comeback being like the comeback. Think about it like the words comeback means like I'm still laying tracks. I'm still laying, there's a route to return to, there's a route to come back home. But with the clap back, it's like I'm burning bridges and the gulf between us keeps getting wider. And you know, as you were speaking, just something that just came to my mind, like in First Peter, I think verse chapter 3, now where it was talking specifically to the person that is married to the unbelieving spouse. It was talking about how they will be won over by your behavior, by your conduct. And I feel like that's so important here, like for us to also remember that our actions speak. Like if we constantly get down and dirty, it only says that we're of the same kind. Like if you truly know better, it compels you to a higher kind of behavior. It compels you to integrity in terms of like, you know, there was something I was watching, I think a couple of weeks ago, where person was talking about values and saying that our values are not necessarily the things that we easily brandish and say that, oh, these are my values, but it's the things that we are willing to, quote and unquote, suffer for, right? So like saying that you know better means that there's a responsibility upon you to do better and to live in integrity in that regard. Continue to hope and pray that the person comes to the same understanding of and
have an experience that brings them to themselves. The revelation of the truth of themselves in that moment. Yeah. I mean, and you said something before about saying that you're not dealing the way you're dealing because the other person deserves it, right? And I feel like it's more because you deserve, one, to be able to show that the work that God has done in you as a believer, if you are a believer, has literally changed you. It is transforming you. There's that. And then there's also doing it because you deserve peace in your own life.
I like that.
Right? You deserve peace in your own life. You deserve joy in your own life. And when a person, lives through that lens of pain, the way I look at it is when I hold somebody in my heart that has hurt me, or when I even quote and unquote permit someone to hurt me in such a way that it is lasting with me, I consider it a painful experience for me more than I think about what is going on with them. Because most times when a person has even hurt you, they are free. Then you get bound.
Okay.
You get bound with the thoughts that you hold about the situation. You get bound by the pain that you permit to stay with you. You get bound by the contemplations of the actions you want to deliver in return. And so when I think about hurt, I think more about forgiveness because I'm thinking about freedom. I'm thinking about the fact that I would never want to put myself in a position where I let something outside of my control keep me bound. And so the moment I can't control what has just happened, meaning it's not with me to control that, I let it go because it keeps my freedom in place.
Yes. And I think it's so important because the thing is that there's that temptation to turn bitterness, to turn pain into a home and start to dwell in it.
Oh, yeah.
Forgetting that the only thing that you can enjoy, if you build a home on that kind of foundation, the only thing that you can enjoy, it would only be after itself. It's only the fruits of bitterness that one would enjoy in that kind of situation. So realizing that you need to choose the path of freedom, choose the path of peace, choose the path of healing. First for yourself. First for yourself. And realizing that your responsibility is to continue to be a reflection of God's love and God's heart. But ultimately, it is God that does the work of transforming. It's God that does the work of shaping or changing the perspective of the other person. I mean, I feel like we've sort of addressed that side of the matter, and we can sort of bring it back home now to our conversation. And the point I was going to make next was the fact that forgiveness is not permission, is freedom. I feel like we need to disabuse our mind from this perspective that feels like forgiveness equals to permissiveness. Like forgiveness is not actually what forgiveness is.
Like you say, when you forgive, you're
excusing
acting
bad
like
behavior.
the other person has done something that is okay.
Yeah, do you understand?
That's the way to put it. You're excusing the bad behavior.
Do you get? But I feel like ultimately forgiveness is actually also saying to yourself that I'm not going to be a prisoner of your actions.
Absolutely.
Because the weight,
I guess that just mirrors what I was trying to say.
Because the weight that unforgiveness places on you, you're the one that's going to deal with the lasting consequences of that, of the cynicism, of the second guessing yourself, of all those things. So realizing that, you know what, forgiveness is the ultimate best choice that you can make in this kind of situations, because it allows you to actually enjoy and to actually live in the freedom that Christ has purchased for you.
Right. And you know, just hearing you say that, I'm thinking maybe we have to speak on forgiveness.
There's something that you said in the last episode that we need to speak about.
And we should by all means speak on that. But maybe we have to speak on forgiveness. And I'll tell you why. Because I've had conversations with people that in the midst of the conversation, when they begin to see what should indeed be the way that they lead their relationships or their marriage, the next question is often, but how do I even forgive this person based on what they've done? Where do I even start from? And I think that to a good extent is often about how what the person has done or is doing to them makes them feel. Either makes them feel of themselves, makes them feel of how the person values the relationship or the marriage, makes them feel of how the person values maybe even life or their own life, as the case may be, makes them feel about whatever they had together even meant in the first place, make them feel maybe, quote and unquote, for many, foolish for even making the decision to be with such a person. Like, there are many situations like that. And as far as I'm concerned, we can't run away from the fact that real life issues happen and put the person in the position where forgiveness is really tough because it's up against several things that you are looking through or judging yourself by, as the case may be. So when I say that, of course, if we start talking about that now, I imagine there's going to be another long part of the talk. But I feel like it might be something to dwell on.
And I think it will be important to dwell on it because I feel like many people need to enter into their freedom. They need to enter into their rest.
Absolutely.
They need to come into rest as regards certain areas of maybe like tension, pain that they might have endured or gone into. And sometimes it's not even in the big things. It's in those little things that your spouse has done and you didn't know that you've already started to stack up resentment. And there's one mental scorecard where you've started to sort of tick things off. He did this yesterday, he did that yesterday, he did this yesterday. And before you know it, one day you just have this eruption and you're wondering, where did that come from? So I feel like, you know, when the Bible tells us that marriage is meant to be a mirror that reflects the relationship between Christ and the church, I feel like many of us have not fully grasped.
That was the one I was supposed to talk about.
Yes. I feel like many of us have not fully grasped what that picture is and what the enormity of that thing looks like. And it's sad that I have to keep putting this disclaimer because I feel like it's so important that you are doing it equally yoked. It's so important that you are doing it equally yoked.
Yeah.
That way you will not feel like you are being taken for a ride.
Maybe something to say there will now be, and this is back again to people that are still out there and single, that you understand for sure that whoever it is that you are ending up with understands the meaning of marriage, understands the goal of marriage. They're not in it for the fun. They're in it for the sacrifice. They're in it for the picture of what it is supposed to mirror. And they understand it. They understand their role. They understand their own part to play. They understand what they are bringing in to make it look like it is supposed to look. Right? And I think that those conversations are critical to have. Because there are many things people learn on the go, but there's a problem with learning on the go when there's a dire consequence for ignorance before it's time to learn. Because some people get to the opportunity to learn But some, based on the level of consequences that would occur for ignorance, never get the opportunity to learn in the same situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that anybody wants to get into a marriage just to dissolve it or scatter things in 2 months or 3 months because of ignorance. Do you see? Like, you're better off knowing such that you're able to go the long haul, deal with issues, manage appropriately, because we learned what we needed to learn.
Yeah.
We were sure that we knew what we needed to know.
And you know that we've said a lot of things, right? And I feel like for those who thrive in summaries, I love to summarize so that you can say, okay, out of all these things, I'm taking so and so points home. And I feel like the first key thing here will be the fact that retaliation ends up just widening the gulf. It does not build connection.
Yeah,
it does not lead to
doesn't.
connection. We've spoken about the fact that you should choose responding over reflex. Right? Because in responding, you are likely to temper your response with wisdom, with counsel.
You're more guarded by
You're more
wisdom.
guarded by wisdom, right?
Yeah.
And then I think we've said that you should name what you're really feeling, because this is not a emotional suppression game. And contrary to what you might even feel, in the vulnerability of sharing what you truly feel with your spouse, you might find understanding. They might actually come to a place of understanding where they sort of understand the gravity or the weight of what their actions might have cost for you. But also, I feel like it's important that I point out here that in being vulnerable is not the same thing as accusing the other person. Because the truth of the matter is that vulnerability might bear fruits of understanding, but accusations can never.
Right. Right.
Do you get? Because accusation would only lead to judgment, it will only lead to defensiveness, and it will close the door. So vulnerability might open the door. So being vulnerable and leading the way with the fact that I felt hurt by what you did yesterday, as opposed to you always hurt me, this is what you always do, you're a bad person. Vulnerability might open the door, but accusation will close that door. And I feel like it's just important to sort of make that distinction. And I think more than everything else that you might have heard us say is take it to God. Take it to God, because God would help you process it and help you understand it and see it from the right light. And most of the things that you would do or your actions towards your spouse is first of all in allegiance to God, not because of their behavior, not because of the deservedness, like, oh, they deserve it, so because they deserve it, I do this to them. Do you understand? So I feel like taking it to God is another thing, and praying about it, right? And I feel like just remembering that there's a way that even difficult situations that we find ourselves in can lead to connection and doesn't have to separate us. So it doesn't have to be the end of our relationship. And just focusing on the right things. You know, we say this thing easily. It's me and you versus the problem. Not me versus you. I feel like just also remembering that our connection is the goal, and just sort of keeping that front and center in your choices, in your response, and in the way you react after the situation. I feel like that would be really, really helpful. I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
I mean, I was just going to say that mastery of being able to pause before taking action, being able to slow down and seek counsel and be sure to be guided by wisdom before taking action, puts you in the position where you're more predisposed to being able to understand the person, the situation, the circumstance, and give what is appropriate to it. And in giving what is appropriate to the situation, you are more likely to be able to restore things than you lose the person or lose the union in itself. Right? Yeah.
And you know that as you were speaking, the thing that just crossed my mind is the fact that grace doesn't excuse the wrong, but it creates room for repentance and repair.
Absolutely.
It creates room for repentance and repair, because many of us can become justice crusaders in our own marriage and in our own relationship. Like, you know what is right to do. I get it. But then, do you still hold space for repentance and repair?
Yeah.
Or is it a point of, I must prove my point that you were wrong, and I must make you feel the shame, I must make you feel the guilt, I must make you feel the weight. And like I said earlier, we're not talking about abusive situations here, right? But I must make you feel the weight of what you felt. And until I've now felt satisfied, like I've come to the end of, like, yes, now I feel satisfied, like what I've dealt with, the silence I've given you, the rejection I've given you, it now feels commensurate to what I felt, right? Because sometimes it's not even in words. It's in our inactions.
Yeah.
It's in the silence. It's in the rejection. It's in the weaponizing sex.
And those things come as a result of the pain.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was going to bring me to the next point that we made, is the fact that do not let pain get into the driver's seat. Feel the emotions, but do not allow pain become your instructor.
And that's what you must master in life to deal with it, right?
Yeah. So let the wisdom, let the foundation, let the things that you know to be true of marriage be the things that are in the driver's seat, not pain. Acknowledge your pain, but do not allow it become the instructor. Do not allow it to become a doctrine. Do not allow it become the thing that you then tabernacle your entire life around.
As you're speaking, I just heard like an administration. This came to mind as you were speaking about how pain can even be the deciding factor for your source of counsel. We're just in a bid to be able to cushion the pain that I feel. I'm itchy to hear somebody just allude to the rightness of how I feel. And then I use that as my source of judgment. That since I'm not the only one that feels this reaction I'm about to take is the right thing to do, somebody else thinks so too. That person might also be somebody that's not dealt with their own pain or has not mastered being able to heal from situation or are not able to respond to things with wisdom. And so because I am in that position, I am more likely to gravitate toward people that understand it based on the impulse I feel, the reactionary feeling of wanting to hurt back. I'm more likely to gravitate toward people that understand that than I am to gravitate toward people that would share counsel that is anti-hurting back. So it makes sense that even before I ever get to a point of hurt in a relationship or marriage or what have you, I already know that there's the likelihood that in that moment when I'm not my best in terms of how I am being, either calculative, rational, or led by wisdom, I am susceptible to seeking information that would help buttress how I feel and the action that comes from that. I feel like knowing that should make you deliberately muster everything it takes to seek counsel with somebody that wouldn't share view from pain. Because just the same way in the mouth of 2 or 3 counsel is established, in the same way in the mouth of 2 or 3 people that are reading with pain, that have not dealt with their pain, that have, experienced things that have moved them to a part of life where they think that, I don't know why I'm getting it this way. In the mouth of those 2 or 3 will also come counsel.
Yeah.
That isn't the best for your own situation.
And I think it's important that I then sort of make this point based on what you've just said. And it's to the people that will be at the other end of giving counsel, or it's to the people that would have platforms. It's to the people that would share things. Like, it's important that, yes, we do share our pain and we share our experiences, but then unprocessed pain should never be the platform from which we're sharing, because at the end of the day, it would only bear fruit after its own kind.
Absolutely, and there's no balance.
It will bear fruit after its own kind, and we do not make a doctrine out of pain. And this is not in any way diminishing the painful situations that people might have gone through, right, legitimately. And I think more so it's important that we say this in the marriage context, because have there been bad marriages out there? There have been. Have people been dealt with? The word that comes to my mind is biblical KJV word, treacherously. Have they been dealt with treacherously by the person that they chose to spend their life with and they trusted? People have. They have. So it will be unfair for us to say that those experiences do not exist. They do exist. But we cannot start to now lay foundation upon that. Do you get? Like the other day, I'd seen a post where someone was saying that, oh, this is what you should do to safeguard yourself. Document everything. Start recording everything. Keep an account where it's just yourself. And while those things might sound like okay advice. They might sound they might sound benign, but the question for me is, where is that coming from? Where is the stream that is giving birth to this counsel? Is it the stream of pain? Is this how God wanted marriage to be at the start? Because we need to always go back to where it all started from. We need to always go back from where it all began. We cannot start from a place of disease and then build from there. Like in my work as a doctor, we need to know the normal organ functioning, such that when we see disease and we can fling out disease, we can remove disease, but it would always be to restore it back to normal functioning, not that restore it to a similitude of normalcy and make a doctrine around things that are not right. Because I think for me, it would then make many start out on a shaky foundation, which is not the heart of God.
They've gotten counsel that wasn't grounded,
which is not the heart of God. And it will be, and we're not diminishing the fact that painful and horrible, we counsel people.
It is unfortunate.
Yeah, we counsel people and we hear these things, but it will not be unfair for us to come here and now reduce our counsel or reduce the advice that we will give you to the experiences that maybe we've had, or like when we speak to our bros, I tell them my desire for them is to have it better than we had it. I'm never going to just sit down in a place and start to project my own experiences upon them and say, because if I did this, then it becomes an automatic rite of passage that you need to go through as well. Do you see? So I feel like it's unfair as well to then start to shape a cynical view of marriage in the hearts of people because difficult situations have happened, right? Plane crashes, I feel like this year and last year, more than ever before, I became aware of a lot more plane crashes. But are people still going on the plane and flying every day? People are. And we're not brandishing a narrative of flying on the planes or going in an airplane is a bad narrative. But then with marriages, it feels like once one person has a tale of woe, then they then start to build like wisdom from that stream and it gives birth to that. Even people that have it good, the essence of sharing should never be like, come and look at us. It's about pointing back to grace itself,
to the design.
Pointing back to the design, pointing back to God himself, such that you take counsel from God. You will take counsel from building your own from God. Do you understand? Like I think about these experiences as cautionary tales. Like cautionary tales of how we should not deal with each other's hearts. We should see how when we become used to the beautiful gifts that marriage is, if we become used to it and we allow selfishness, we allow pride, we see the risks that we run. So there should be cautionary tales and warnings to say, you know what, do it as per design. I feel like I got impassionate there, but I feel like it's so important because unfortunately there's so many streams now and they are birthing things that are not after the heart of the Father in terms of what he wants and what he has established concerning the marriage institution. Chickets, we cannot birth from pain. We cannot elevate our own pain to the point where it becomes a doctrine and it becomes the one thing that we'll now use to now shape people's experiences and say, this is how you must do it. We go from the template. We go back to the template and say, this is how it must be done. And when it is in deviation from the instruction that God has given, this is the fruit that it bears. So this is the reason why don't do it in deviation from the way God has said. Not that we will now further entrench and say, continue to do it because it will only bet more dysfunction. Imagine somebody waking up and seeing that the person's wife has been documenting them. Every conversation is recorded in a voice note. There's no trust there. That cannot bear the fruit of intimacy. It cannot bear the real fruit of trust. So in trying to even safeguard ourselves outside of the commands and the dictates of God, we end up getting it wrong. The instructions of God would always be for our own good. And I'll end on that note. The instructions of God, the way he has ordered us to do, the way he has ordered us to be, it would always be for our own good. And we should always build on that foundation. I always say this story to our children, using the children of Israel as an example. And I'll say that when God says, don't marry from other tribes, don't do this, don't do that, they didn't get it. But soon enough, when they started to marry from other people, and those people started to introduce them to their own gods, and they started to take their own gods, and the intermingling started to cause trouble for them, and it made them lose focus, it made them lose direction. I mean, at the start, you're like, why can't we marry from other tribes? You don't get it. The commandments of God are for our own good, they're for our protection. And we should always default to God's commandments, not default to the altars that our pain is tempting us to be. Okay, sorry. Sorry, guys.
You said it really well. It just gives more credence to why having that conversation about the foundation of this thing in the first place and what we should be upholding as the way that this is run. Because yes, we can't run marriages from the world's lenses, like the world instituted marriage. As believers, we can't shy away from speaking about marriage the way it was supposed to be instituted, or the way it was instituted and it's supposed to run, because some people haven't done it right. And so whether it is
or because
one
we are
person,
not doing it right, because it's easy for you to say that some people haven't done it right, as no point in, like, but us too, we cannot come and then build from our own experiences, because it's the temptation of human beings. Like, you have a particular experience, you then want to turn it into a doctrine. Do you understand? Like, so you want to project your own experience, the limitations and the frailties therein, onto other people, and say that this has to be the only way for you to enjoy this thing. This has to be the only way for you to go through this thing. And as you were speaking, the only thing that kept coming to my mind is, why marriage? Maybe that's the question some people need to answer. Why marriage in the first instance? Because I get it that maybe marriage has been so idolized and it's been so elevated that everybody feels like it's the right next step, it's the next thing to do, it's the next thing to be doing, it's the next thing to get into, but without first understanding the why. So why marriage? Why is marriage important? When the Bible says that marriage is a mirror of the relationship between Christ and the church, what does scripture mean? Maybe that's a journey, a Bible study that you and your husband, or you and your spouse, or you and your intended need to get into, such that you both dig and you realize that maybe both of you are building from the same foundation. Oh, sorry, guys.
Okay. I think we need to end now because I couldn't even land my points.
I'm so sorry, baby.
So let's just end so that we can start again on a new emotional plate.
What do you mean?
You're already very passionate about this part of the
am.
conversation, so let's just start on a new emotional plate.
Yeah, I like love. I believe in love. I believe in marriage, but I feel like it can easily get a bad rep these days because of the situations that people have found themselves in, and we completely empathize with that. But then I feel like it's also important for us to all of us, ourselves included, to redirect our gaze back to the foundation. Why marriage? Why is it important? Why does the Bible say that it's a mirror of the relationship between Christ and the church?
I feel like my gaze is shifted. Yeah, and I don't say that with any form of arrogance. My gaze isn't shifted, and I understand why, and I do that with all sense of humility. I understand why, and for me, even speaking about it anytime, this has nothing to do with the human frailty or the possibility of error, but everything to do with the understanding of the mind that this thing cannot be done by your own strength. And you must remain there, focused on what gives you strength, what gives you wisdom, what gives you, direction for this thing. So when I say what I was saying earlier, I'm saying because some people haven't gotten it right, I'm not saying that now exempting myself or ourselves as though we get it right. No, the idea for me is there are those very many stories that are out there saying that, oh, there's this believer couple or there's this whatever that so and so and so is happening or has happened with, that makes it seem as if the definitive idea for marriage itself is faulty. No, it is not. It has just been colored the way that it is seen by the frailty that a person permitted. But for somebody that retains their gaze on the institute of marriage, even after something that has gone wrong or gets a bad rep, you still know why you're in it. Yeah. You still know what you're in it for. You still know for whom you're in it for. And you're able to recenter and place yourself back in submission to the person that should be leading that union that you have sworn to. And so for me, that's the point. That's the position I was speaking from. Yeah. And you're able to recenter. And I feel like a believer should be able to recenter, quote unquote, as many times,
yes,
without the judgment of people who perhaps, or not perhaps, who expectedly are supposed to be believers as well. But it's a bad place where even amongst believers there's no safety because there's judgment, one to the other. So it's even just getting people to see that, look, we we seem to have been losing the plot based on the very many publications of this or that. But if one person chooses to get the plot, and 2 people get the plot, and 3 get the plot, and 4 get the plot, you will soon find out that we start to have communities of people who get the plot. And that will start to grow its own widespread influence as well, which I believe should be something that in our own individual unions and homes, we can make the decision and say, I will keep getting the plot. I will stick to the intention. I will stick to the mission. I'll stick to the goal. And all of these things on the outside will not be the definition or the definitive drivers for what's going on our own inside. And if many people can say that, we'll soon have marriages that, regardless of the frailty of man, are more committed to being led by the Spirit of God.
Amen, amen, amen. And since we started this episode with saying, clap back or come back, I want to end it by saying, say no to aura for aura today. Say no to clap back today. Choose the higher way. Yeah, the song that was on my mind is, I choose the way of the Lord. Because the way of the Lord is the way of... Is it freedom or wisdom?
I don't know.
Either way, whether it's freedom, whether it's wisdom, sounds good. Sounds like something that you should choose. So we're rooting for you, as always. And remember, marriage works. And the marriages that work,
I'll work done.
Till next time.